Hello, once again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Controlled Chaos. I am your host, once again, Big Jim, and with me here in the studio, I have always Joker. So tonight, after a little bit of inconsistency with Tuesdays, we decided to have a little pre-race show for the Truck Series and talk maybe if we have a little extra time to talk about the Cup and Xfinity Series, which was honed last Thursday. So for trucks, we are going to talk about Chicagoland and everything that entailed. Is Shake the championship favorite after winning 3 races in a row? GMS showing dominance to start off the playoffs. Homestead preview. And how can Skeptic, Mayhem, AHAC, and so on help their teammates moving forward? So I guess we'll go to that first one, Joker. The Chicagoland review, it was pretty crazy. Had a couple guys speed on pit road there that kind of sealed the deal. But we kind of had an idea who was going to make it after the second stage. Would you say that's about correct?
Yeah, I mean, AK below the cut line, as we knew before. After a very abysmal performance at Canadian Tire, and he really showed up. And that was just enough for him to move on. But the main highlight of the show was GMS in that race. They came 1, 2, 3 in that race. Good run for them overall as a team.
GMS has been on themselves. Canadian Tire, they were 1, 2, 3 for a very long time. Thought they were going to finish that way until Ghost Killer was able to show up. And obviously Chicagoland, those final laps, other than Jason Cole's little strategy to get himself out front in front of some of those GMS guys, it really was GMS all in stage 3. So it has been impressive from them. Another couple things to touch on from Chicagoland was Mayhem not being able to really make it. Also AHAC and Skeptic Whitey getting eliminated. One of those guys really, in your opinion, Joker, had the best chance to make it further on and be into the championship before that lost out at Chicagoland.
Yeah, I think it was obviously the Mayhem pick there. He was top 5 in points throughout the regular season. He may not have gotten a win, but he was the most consistent out of all of the drivers in there. So I think he can be the biggest player to help Ghost Killer try and win a championship. Ghost Killer has been one of the dominant drivers, if not the dominant driver, all season long. So I expect them to try and work with him and try and lock him into the championship 4, which he has a chance to do tonight.
Yeah, tonight is a chance for anybody to lock themselves in the championship 4, round 2 at Homestead. So between Bristol and Homestead, it's really hard to pick against GMS right now, and especially that 2 truck, Shake and Bake. Is there anybody that can give him a run for his money tonight, you think, at a 1.5 miler?
Based on the last 1.5 miles that they were at last week, I think it'll be AK if he shows up, and then TGS. I feel like those were the only 2 playoff drivers that consistently were up front and showed a lot of speed in that race last week.
Yeah, I would say that is, I would agree with that 100%. Now, looking forward, let's see what was on. Sorry, I'm still looking at it. That kind of covers it for our topics. Move through those pretty quickly, but I guess some more questions I can really ask is, we might be seeing a Joker appearance in the booth for the Bristol race next week, right?
Yeah, that's my plan if I do not have work next week.
All right, so you'll be up there with Captain and I up in the booth. That's always been an entertaining one. I look back to last season and Killer's run almost to making it into the championship 4 at Chicagoland. He was really, really close, 1 point away from doing so. But I'm interested to see if we can top that, because that was pretty hectic. And that was with a first-time winner as well. I'm not trying to take away the hype from Homestead, but Bristol really did pay off last season.
Yeah, that was, in my opinion, one of the best races to watch in the league in general. Just because, you know, how everything went down. GU and Killer fighting for the lead. GU didn't give Killer that lap led to lead, and he got eliminated by 1 point. And then Wicks as well. Remember, he was up, I believe, 18 points or something like that, and then made mistakes in both the stages. They gave Killer that shot at the end with the 2-lap restart to end it with Kevin getting the win there.
All right. Yep. I'm listening right now, and apparently I'm cutting out. So Joker, you go ahead and take over. Dalator will be your second.
Yeah. So the next thing we're just going to talk about is Dalator joins the party. Just the dominance that GMS has showed. Do you think Dalator that they can bring that performance in tonight as well?
I think they got a good chance. Goo was pretty good here last year, and I think this. So I've said it like 2 or 3 times. I feel like Shake and Bake had his debut here or whatever. I know that last year at this track he took the pole, ran up front for most of the night. So I have not seen what Predators has as far as Homestead goes. I honestly haven't been practicing this track or seen it really since last season. So he typically does come to play on the 1.5 miles. So between Shake and Goo, I think there could possibly even be a repeat of Chicagoland, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think after their 1, 2, 3 from GMS in general after Chicagoland last week, I think we can expect them to do well. But Shake told me earlier today that he was not confident in running well tonight, so we'll see how that goes. But next thing we'll talk about is, how do you think, Jim, if you're still here, how do you think the 3 drivers eliminated can play a factor into the races for the rest of the season?
Yeah, well, I think that a big thing that they can do, especially Mayhem, because we've seen it already this season, is when they play their strategy, it's very beneficial when you have not just yourself on that strategy. When you have your teammate, like Mayhem has been over the last couple weeks, helping to take up that front row and keep someone from just powering on your outside, I think that is a huge advantage for somebody like Ghost Killer. And I think Jason Cole as well, because he's part of that Roush Fenway group, and he has Skeptic Whitey, who can help that same kind of deal. And of course, draft. I mean, we have going to be pretty important for draft between Homestead and Las Vegas. Will definitely come into play, and that draft will definitely come into play further into the season.
Yeah, those both. When you think about it, this is the last sort of quote-unquote test before Vegas when it comes to the 1.5 miles. Homestead's the only other racetrack in the game really where you can run 2 lanes consistently. So I expect the drivers who run up front here will be running up front in Vegas as well in 2 weeks' time. But next thing to point out, again, Shake and Bake has been the talk of the town in the Truck Series. Dalator, do you think he is the championship favorite as of right now?
I don't think it's clear cut. I've seen what Ghost is able to do at 1.5 miles. Shake is definitely up there as well. It could be a wild card too. AK's been pretty consistent. Jason's up there for a lot of the 1.5 miles, the bigger tracks, to the ones where you need to keep the momentum up. So I honestly think that, this is going to be a pretty good appetizer for Vegas. Vegas runs a little bit differently than Homestead, but still, regardless of what it is, if you're fast at Homestead, you're going to be fast at Vegas. So honestly, I can't really say Shake is the favorite. I can say that he is a favorite.
Yeah, I think any driver in the playoffs with the group of 7 that we have, you can make a case for any of them to win. I think before we end off this truck section of the podcast, we'll do picks tonight and the 3 drivers getting eliminated. Jim, if you want to start that off, floor is yours.
So the 3 drivers getting eliminated. Let me pull up the Truck Series points here. So the 3 guys I have not making the Final 4 are, unfortunately, as good as he's been as of lately, I think Jason Cole will not be able to hold on at Bristol. I think he'll be fine here at Homestead, but I think Bristol, he might just get roughed up a little too much and get knocked out of the way. Another one I don't think is going to make it. I think this might be end of the road for Shake and Bake. I know he's been on such a great roll so far, and it's crazy to think about, but I really haven't seen the speed at short tracks. I don't know how many we've really done this year. Not many for the Truck Series. But I think that he will have a struggle. He'll be pretty consistent tonight at Homestead, but he'll have a big struggle at Bristol that will knock him out. And I also think it'll be end of the road for AK Unleaded. I think he'll also struggle with that whole Bristol incident. Excuse me.
Those are very interesting picks because Shake and Bake is plus 13 right now, and AK is plus 3 as well. So 2 of the drivers below will be in, which means you have MBD and Dalator being in.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's another thing to point out. We haven't really been to a lot of short tracks. The only quote-unquote short tracks we've been to are Phoenix and Dover. So, and we've seen 2 new winners there, which is really interesting. Dalator, what about you?
I'm going to pass. I'm part of this.
Okay. Well, I think I'll put mine in. I think Ghost Killer gets in based on the fact that just the 25-point gap he has. He doesn't need to necessarily win, but he's capable of running top 5 in all the stages, so I think he gets in on that. I think Shake and Bake as well. I think he's the hottest driver right now, so I don't think Wyatt, he falls off a cliff. And then I see AK getting in based on his speed at Homestead. I think he will run really well. Maybe it's enough to get him a good cut line gap so he can survive Bristol. And then I have TGS. I think he's been one of the more consistent drivers in the playoffs. I believe his worst finish is probably 5th or so in the first 3 races. So I just think that. And then the reasoning that I have Jason, Dalator, and NBD out is I think Dalator, he said earlier in the admin chat, he's not going to put as many laps in as potentially the other drivers will, and I think that will potentially harm him in the next 2 races. I think NBD is quick, but I think he just doesn't have what it takes speed-wise to can keep up with the top guys in the league. And then Jason Cole as well. I just think he's consistent, but there's a few mistakes here and there that I see him having, especially at Bristol, that'll knock him out. With that being said, we'll do a quick 2-minute break, and then we'll get into the Xfinity and Cup portion of the broadcast, and then we'll call it there. See you guys in 2 minutes. And I think we are back. We're now going to shift over to the Xfinity portion of the podcast. The main topics we will be discussing: state the Watkins Glen preview. Obviously, that's their race tomorrow. Can anyone stop Junior Motorsports? They won all 3 of the races so far, 2 with Tiger and 1 with Kenny. So let's see if anyone can stop them there. Who's the biggest threat below the playoff cut line? Mudweiser, Vibin, and TK sit there right now with 2 big opportunities ahead of them. The next we will be discussing is the biggest non-playoff driver to win. We've seen a lot of non-playoff drivers play a factor in the races so far to start the playoffs. One example, Rich Gang, he was really quick at Chicagoland, and then a Pirro penalty ended his chances. And then lastly, the drivers that need to perform for the Dega race because of that or perform at Watkins Glen so they can survive that Dega race. Jim, if you're here, who do you think's winning tomorrow, or Watkins Glen preview? Who do you think's winning? Can anyone stop JRM?
If there's anyone that can stop JRM, it's probably Penske. I mean, JoJo he's been very, very confident in his speed at Watkins Glen over the last couple days. He's gotten into DMs with me and told me that he's been very strong there in the past, and that he can give Tiger and Kenny a run for their money. But you also got to look at down there, right on the cut line, Killer. He's a guy that is very fast at road courses and pretty underestimated, so you're going to have to look out for that 10 car as well.
Yeah, I haven't really seen the out of Killer, honestly, on the road courses, so let's see if he can just survive. He's still above the cut line by, I believe, 6 points, so all he needs is just to survive. Dalator, if you're here, what do you think about the race tomorrow?
I mean, you're going to, like you said earlier, you're going to have a JRM showcase. Kenny and Tiger are going to run away with it. Tiger obliterated the truck field at Watkins Glen, and I really don't see him faltering in the Xfinity series. It was it was a sight to behold. I mean, I thought I had a pretty decent truck. I do like road courses in this game, but there was, it felt like he had 200 more horsepower. So I think he brings that over to Watkins Glen in the Xfinity series, and put the names in the hat. Kenny and Tiger, one of those will win stage 1, the other win stage 2, and then toss up for the race, honestly. JoJo is pretty quick, though, as Jim said, so it may not just be a 2-horse race. So, we might get surprised by somebody outside those 3 that, really show up, but honestly, I think that those are going to be heavy favorites.
Yeah, can't go wrong with any of the picks, because Watkins Glen's more of the easier road courses. I think it's the easiest, so you may see a lot more players at the front. But we'll move on. Who do you think is the biggest threat below the cut line to win? Jim, I'll go with you first.
Biggest threat below the cut line. Are we talking just Watkins Glen or Talladega included?
Just in general. Who do you think has the
Okay,
best
so
chance?
I kind of went over this last week in episode 2 about TK270 Kelvin and Mudweiser both getting wins at super speedways, but I think Kevin right there, another JRM car, I think he's going to be a threat at Talladega, and he got offended by me saying he wasn't a threat at Watkins Glen, so we'll see what he can bring tomorrow night.
And Dalator, what about you?
Well, Vibin's going to be the wild card. Yeah, I don't know how else to put that. He's going to be a wild card. I do think that Kevin's got something for the guys above the cut line. He's got a lot of league experience, was a factor in the trucks last season during the playoffs, not as a playoff driver. So he had got a win at Bristol last year in the trucks to lead into the finale at Chicagoland. So I think that he has a chance to point his way in. Guy's smart. He's going to use some strategy. Somebody is going to have to fall out, though, and unfortunately I think it's going to be Killer. Maybe low-hanging fruit because he's only 7 above the cut line with 2 races, but I don't see Electric losing 24 points and JoJo losing 33.
Yeah, 2 solid picks there. Next thing we're going to move on to who's the biggest threat that's not in the playoffs. So you have, it's like that one guy that can maybe shake things up that isn't in the playoffs anymore. Jim, I'll go with you first.
Uh, Honestly, I don't know, but at Talladega, I could really see Jackson Altman winning. He hasn't had the best luck this season. Last time we saw him have a real shot was New Hampshire, and his strategy just didn't really pan out. But Talladega is an ultimate wild card, and he'll be looking for his first win of season 3 right there.
I'll agree with you. I think that Jackson has a good shot. He's got some good teammates that would help him. He's going to help his teammates that are in the playoffs. But outside of Talladega, I'm going to just solely focus on Watkins Glen. What's his name now? I don't even know.
Racing Greens.
Yeah, there you go. Racing Greens. You knew exactly who I was going to mention. He's got 6 top 5s so far this season. He's quick, and last year he put on a show trying to point his way into the next round in the 4-car. Amazing passes. He got lucky with a few of them, and then just unfortunately used up his luck at the end of it. But he could really shake things up. So if there's a late caution, he's not going to look at anything else besides bringing home a checkered flag.
Yeah, so good pick. I'm going to go with Racing Greens as well. He's probably been one of the more outspoken drivers with little success, so I hope he can have one race where he can back up that outspoken talk he has lately. But picks to win tomorrow before we wrap things up and go to Cup.
Jim, I'll let you go first.
Sure. So I did say JoJo was going to be a tough out, but I do think that JRM is uncanny at the road courses, and I think it's going to be Tiger NASCAR that's able to lock himself for the next round, the next round of 7. So I'm going with Tiger.
Well, Jim, whatever one you picked, I wasn't going to pick that one. I was going to pick the other, so I'll go with Kenny.
Yeah, I think gotta go with Tiger, right? Just been the best on the road courses all season, with Kenny right close behind. So they're the only two that have won road courses, and Tiger won in the Truck Series race at Watkins Glen. So he's looking to go sweep his portion of the races he's run there. But we're gonna take a little break, take a 2-minute break, and then be back for the Cup Series and preview Watkins Glen for them as well. So see you guys then. And we are back for the cup portion of the podcast, last part of the podcast before we all get ready for the truck race in about 30 minutes. But after the discussion last week about Chicagoland, we now focus on the Glen tomorrow, the last road course race on Heat 5 worth points. So, Jim, who do you think, now that we've taken this 1 week break, who do you think will benefit the most from the break that we've had in the Cup Series?
I was going to say, if you're just going to say break in general, I was going to go with Vibin Marnes and Xfinity because he wasn't going to make that race. But in the Cup Series, I think that this really does, I think it favors you, Joker. I think that this is exactly what you needed. Needed a little bit of time to cool off from Chicagoland because that was such a heated race, I would say. And I think you're going to go out and kind of put a whooping on everybody. In my opinion, you Sharp, and Heredia are going to be all up at the top three.
Yeah, Dallator?
I mean, everybody needed a break, honestly. You guys race twice a week. There's a reason I don't. So yeah, it's good to take a break, kind of reset your mind, and go back out there. So I think the guys that were able to practice this week for Watkins Glen are going to show that. Obviously, some people in this party don't need that track time. So you're going to see, I think you're going to see a couple people surprise you. Really can't pin down who it is exactly, but I think that the field is going to be a lot closer than it would be if it was, the second race in 3 days.
Yeah, I think I'm going to give a little shout out to LD Allen. I know he's not really the best on road courses, but he has put a lot of laps in to try and improve because he's currently below the cut line, so he kind of needs a good run tonight or tomorrow when we race there. But next thing to talk about, this has been like one of the more debated topics in the league. Who do you think this is the last road course race on Heat 5 worth points, so who do you think out of the league is the best road course racer in the league in general? Jim, I'll go with you first.
It's between two people. It's between you and Heredia. I truly don't know because it's been back and forth, wish-wash every single time. I thought I had it, I thought I knew exactly who was the best. I thought it was Heredia after he won the pole at the Roval, and then you just went out there and kicked everyone's tail. So I have no answer. I'm going to say it's a dead-on tie between you and Heredia.
Dallator?
I don't like to kiss people's rear ends, but I think that you have a slight advantage. You make less mistakes. Heredia goes out there and tests the boundaries every lap, and that's how he's as quick as he is. You test the boundaries every lap, but you do it with a tenacity and such finesse that not saying Heredia doesn't have that finesse, but you know exactly where the limit is each lap, especially with the worn out tires. You know what you're going to be able to get, and you're both methodical, but you're a little bit more methodical when it comes to how you attack each corner. And I think maybe a bit of that is your experience with Formula One racing. So a little bit of different backgrounds is how you both have gotten good at the road courses, but I think you take the edge because in competitive racing type games, you have a bit more experience.
Yeah, I think the fight and the debate, me and Heredia have a lot of respect for each other. We're the only, it's crazy to think that we're the only two drivers in the about 12 or 13 road course races that have won where you make left and right turns. So with one last race, let's have a good send-off on Heat 5 before we move on to
I also want to
NASCAR.
say, I'm sorry for cutting you off, that Sharp is an exceptional road course racer. He's up there as well. But, I mean, the only problem is he has made some mistakes that have cost him. But in both NARL and HPL, he's been there, and each one he's just had something go wrong.
Yeah, and unfortunately what disqualifies Sharp is his time in the league. doesn't match the time that Joker and Heredia have both put in. If he was in the league, 2-3 seasons ago, maybe he'd be in that discussion. He was in Xfinity Series last year, but I think that you got to go overall as to who's won more. Heredia put a whipping on us at the truck race at the Roval. Joker didn't take part of it, but I'm sure that if he did, you would have seen those two guys up there as well, fighting for that one.
Yeah, I know one race that really sticks out for Sharp. I remember it did last year was Road America in the Xfinity Series, where I believe this was the final stage, got taken out on a late race restart and had to crawl and fight his way back up to second, where he lost to Ghost. So I know that one really hurts him, but there's still like a lot of drivers in that tier, if you want to say below myself and Heredia. Tiger, Kenny, Riley at times. He shows a lot of pace. Captain Jack. Fistbuster when he was in the league, Resistance as well. So there's a lot of drivers in that group that really excelled on the road courses.
Tiger especially. At Tiger at Watkins Glen in a cup car is unfair. I don't know how he does it, but he can wreck that thing, literally be stuck in a wall for 5 seconds and still come back and win the race. So I don't know what Tiger does, but I would love to see him get a call up. I mean, unfortunately, Heat 5 is about to expire, but I would have loved to have seen him get a call up for a Cup Series race here in HPL.
Unfortunately, fortunately, we all need to move on from this game.
That's very true.
Yeah, but next thing to talk about, developing story, Riley will be starting in parking tomorrow due to the lovely Cowboys playing the Buccaneers. So, Jim, you're a competitor of his. What do you think of that? He's going to be in a must-win for Dega, so what do you think about the whole situation in general?
I'm a little bit shocked about that because he's not a bad road course racer. Riley is one of the more exceptional road course racers that, I mean, in the Xfinity Series at least, was insane. But now he isn't going to even be competing. I'm a bit surprised about that, but at the same time, I understand that we all have things we want to do outside of this video game, like watch football or hang with our families, and that definitely takes priority. So good on him.
Daltor?
I'm not surprised. I mean, yeah, it's starting to get football season. If we ran on Saturdays, I definitely wouldn't be racing at all because of college football. College football is, right up there on my list as well. So, know how much of a Cowboys fan he is, which, I question that because it's the Cowboys. I have a family member who's a Cowboys fan, and I give him hell every single time I see him over it. But, everybody has their faults. That's Riley's. So, you know what? No big sweat there. Yeah, it's football season. Football in this country takes precedent over a lot of things. So, and that's a big game too. Playing Tom Brady, playing that offense. Selfishly, I may be tuning in to see how a few of my fantasy players are going to do. So we'll see where I'm at too for that one.
Yeah, football starts tomorrow, the new season. See if Tom Brady can repeat. I believe it's what? He's looking for his 8th, right?
7th.
Or 9th? 7th?
I thought it
Okay.
was
7th.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Is it his 8th?
I thought it was his 8th.
Okay.
That's just insane.
Yeah. But back to NASCAR. Last few bits, picks to win tomorrow. Jim, who do you think's winning tomorrow?
Tomorrow, I've said you a bunch of times, but I mean it. I think you're going to win tomorrow. I think Heredia is going to get second, Sharp third. That's my top 3.
Altor?
I'm going to go Sharp. The guy's good. Pick the one you don't expect. I mean, that's how a few people have gotten it this far in the playoffs. So it's always the guys that are the quietest that make the biggest noises when you least expect it. So, shock value is always up there. So I think Sharp may have something for you.
Yeah, that'll be, 3 wins in the last 4 races? If that's done. He could have went 4 for 4, but yeah, I think we all know that finish that happened. But
Yeah. Dude is
I'm actually not
Louisiana
going.
hot.
Yeah, I'm not actually going to pick. I've never picked a cup race where I win or not. I just let if it happens, it happens. It doesn't, it doesn't. So, but any last thoughts, Trucks Xfinity Cup, before we end the broadcast and get ready for the Homestead race?
Basically for trucks, that'll be in 20 minutes. We'll see you there. It'll be the same exact spot this broadcast is on right now, and there's a lot on the line for those those guys that are good at the 1.5 milers.
Yeah, the first chance to punch their ticket into the championship. Ford will be in that race, so good luck to him and good luck to all the truck drivers. But for Big Jim and Dalator, I'm always Joker, and we will see you in about 20 minutes for the truck race. See ya.
See you in 10th place.